Joining us today is Branch Manager of the Environmental Branch and Aboriginal Affairs from the Water Corporation, the gorgeous Suzanne Brown. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for agreeing to chat with us today.
It's a pleasure, always a pleasure to talk to you, Beth.
Oh, thank you. Suzanne, you're an engineer and a leader who's been successful leading in a traditionally male-dominated environment and profession. Could you share with us a little bit about your story as to how you actually moved from technical professional to senior leader in this type of profession?
Look, I suspect it's probably like a lot of people, it's probably slightly accidental and a mixture of happy accidents and circumstances. I'd always done science and physics and maths in school and figured that would probably be a pretty good career path, but I really didn't have any grand plans. When I finished school, I sort of fell into university, started the engineering degree and loved it. I had a very supportive family. I still have a very supportive family, and particularly my dad encouraged me. And to be honest, I never really felt that there was any reason not to do a particular course of study, and never felt that there was any reason why I couldn't do engineering. I did have one female chemistry teacher in high school who said to me when I said, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing engineering, miss," she said, "Oh my goodness, don't do that." She was only a couple of years older than me at the time, and she said, "Don't do that, it's terrible, it's male dominated, you'll be surrounded by men." And at the time, I think telling a 17-year-old hormonal girl that she would go to university and be surrounded by men was probably not an actual deterrent to me. It sounded like a pretty good plan. So off I went, and she was right. I was surrounded by boys from a very early age at university. I think what also helped was I went to a mixed government school, and so I'd already been pretty well exposed to a fairly robust demographic of kids from all different backgrounds, lots of migrants out at West Midland. I went to Governor Stirling High School. Lots of migrants, lots of Aboriginal kids, a real diverse bunch of kids. So it didn't really bother me going into a male-dominated course, because I'd already done maths and physics, which was already, I didn't know any different, basically. And moving from the more technical into the leadership, again, kind of happened by accident. Someone left the organisation, and shortly after I'd returned from maternity leave, and I honestly thought I'd have no chance at the job, because I was still part-time and still caring for 2 young children. But I just thought I'll give it a go and see where it goes, and at least get a bit of exposure and give my boss a bit of an indication that I was interested in the management job. And be careful what you wish for, because he gave it to me, and also agreed that I could do it part-time. So that's kind of where it went. It has been a series of accidents, I think.
Lovely, thank you. Suzanne, you know, often in Australia, the rate at which women are said to move into senior leadership roles has best been described as glacial. How has being a woman helped or hindered your rise up the ranks thus far?
Oh, firstly, I think glacial is probably kind. I've seen video footage of glaciers moving pretty fast. Look, helped. I'm not sure that being a woman's ever helped. I think there's only one aspect of that may have helped, and that is that more and more organisations are looking for people in leadership roles to have high IQ and to have empathy and to be able to connect with people. I don't necessarily think women do that better, but I do think we have permission to do it. And society doesn't necessarily encourage young boys and young men to be touchy-feely about how people feel and people get on with each other. So I think in that regard, that's probably something that's helped, that I have permission to be kind to my staff and encouraging and supportive. Men probably have a bit of an expectation to keep a little bit more distance, and so that's probably what's helped. What's hindered, there are a lot of myths around women who want to move into leadership positions. The myth that you have to act like a man simply isn't true. The myth that organisations, I think, perpetuate the myth that women with children don't want senior positions, and I've heard that said in my own organisation, and it's simply not true. I know plenty of talented young women with children who do want senior positions. There's a myth, I guess, that women who work part-time or who aren't necessarily wanting to be there 8 till 6, 5 days a week, aren't ambitious and aren't going to achieve results. And what I'm trying to do is demonstrate it through results. So you need a couple of supportive people throughout your career that you can get your toe in the door with and show what you're capable of and who believe in you, and that's how I've done it.
Beautiful, thank you. Suzanne, I don't want to embarrass you, but you've won quite a number of awards in your profession over the last couple of years, and I guess just really looking for your thoughts around how have you managed to balance or juggle the priorities which are often seen as competing of motherhood, success in leadership and achieving such extraordinary results in your profession?
Well, look, firstly, I have to say, if you're having children, there's obviously a partner involved, hopefully. I don't think anyone does it without having support. I've got a fantastic supportive husband. I often say to young women I know who are, thinking about moving into, professional careers, whatever you do, marry someone who can cook. Because getting home at night with dinner on the table, not that he does it all, but seeing each other as equal partners in the partnership is a massive contributing factor. Look, I don't know. I don't think I've got a balance. Sometimes things are way out of balance, and I think you set up your priorities in life and you work out what's important to you, and outsourcing stuff that you don't have time to do, if you can afford it, is always helpful. And the other thing is, I think the whole mother guilt thing, if it rears its head, I'm not saying I never feel guilty, but if it does rear its head, you need to get a grip, look at your kids. Are they happy? Are they healthy? Are they doing what they can do at school? Are they managing well? Are they socially, they're making friends? Then you're doing a good job. And I also firmly believe no child ever died from having cornflakes for dinner once in a blue moon. Like if you get home and you open your fridge and it's empty and you've got your cornflakes and the kids go, yay! So don't beat yourself up over not giving them meat and 3 veg every night or sending them to school 2 days in a row in the same shirt. You make workarounds.
Suzanne, just a final question. For the young women and the emerging leaders who are really looking at cracking the glass ceiling without significant personal sacrifice, what advice would you give women who do want to move into leadership positions but are concerned about what they might have to give up?
Yeah, look, I think every decision in life involves some form of sacrifice, so you're deluding yourself if you think there's no sacrifice. We'd all love to drop everything and go travelling around the world at some point, but you make your priorities, basically. I think it's probably harder than you imagine and then easier than you imagine in some respects. So there's some things that get harder that you don't expect, and there's some things that get easier. One thing I would say, though, that surprised me was that when I moved to a management role and I suddenly had a team and a PA, it got easier. So the big secret, nobody tells you, it actually gets easier the more senior you are, because you're achieving results through and with your team, as opposed to being a team member with a bunch of projects that you're trying to battle on by yourself. So that came as a big surprise, and I'm glad I learnt that at quite an early age. I was quite a young manager, and I spread the word wherever I can. Go for those promotions, get yourself up the ladder as fast as you can, because it gets easier the more senior you are, and of course you get more experienced and more adept at juggling all the balls, and if one of the balls drops, well, have a backup plan. So as well as understanding what your priorities are, have contingency planning in place. So if you have a plan for who picks up your kids from school, have the backup in place, have the mobile phone numbers, know your neighbours, help them out as well. And I guess probably the last bit of advice I'd give to young women coming through is Madeleine Albright, the former Secretary of State in the US, said there's a special place in hell reserved for women who don't help other women. So help each other out and smash the myth that senior women don't help other women coming up through, because I think we should all help each other as well.
Thanks, Suzanne. Thank you very much.
Thanks.